Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Now in this video I'm going to be going through A/B testing and why it's important and the exact ways that I A/B test for my 7 and 8 figure e-com clients. So if you've been following this channel for a while, or if you follow me on Twitter, you'll know that I am a big proponent of data-driven decisions. Now, I always use data to make my decisions, and I feel like there's no better way to gather data than to run an A/B test. So what do I mean by that? Now, instead of just Googling, best time of the day to send emails, and it's 7 p.m. so you just start sending your emails at 7 p.m. You should really test to see when your audience is the most active. Another example is, I saw the other day that someone tweeted using an emoji within a subject line is going to get you better engagement. And for that guy's list, it might work. But what you'll see is you should actually test for your list to see if using an emoji in your subject line actually results in more opens. Now, different lists are really going to react differently to different things. So it's really important to, instead of just relying on everyone's advice, or my advice is just a general umbrella statement, you should always test that advice for your specific list. And what you'll find is sometimes your hypothesis is correct, but a lot of times you'll see that you're actually pleasantly surprised by the results that your list provides you. So in this video, I'm going to be running through exactly how I run an A/B test. I'm going to share my screen on Klaviyo, and I'm going to run through the exact how-tos of how we run a list. And stick around till the end because I'm going to be going through a unique Klaviyo A/B testing feature that majority of brands completely neglect. It's actually a little hidden, so I'll show you how to find it, and I'll show you exactly how to run it. And it's a test that I run for every single one of my clients, so it's super important. So let's get stuck right into it. Alright, so what you're going to do is you're going to first create a campaign as exactly the way you ordinarily would. So I've created a campaign. I just went ahead and just basically drafted a dummy campaign. I'm going to send it to my regular newsletter list. So basically what I've done here is I've created a campaign. So this is just a generic Klaviyo template, but in this place, it'll be your actual campaign that you're planning to send out. So once you've created your baseline campaign, so the one that you're going to test against, you then click create A/B test. And what it's going to do is it's actually going to clone the email that you just created before. So it's going to be an exact copy so far. So now it's up to you what you want to test. Now, first of all, what you can do is if you want to test for more than just two things, you just click clone, and it's going to add a third variation, and you can and so on and so forth. However, I would always recommend just doing two tests. So just test one thing against the other. That keeps the data clean, and it makes your variables much more easier to understand. So I always prefer to just run two tests instead of three. And over here, you can pick your option as to what your winning metric is going to be. So down below, there are the options of what you can test. So if you click open rate, the basic thing that you're going to test against is going to be your subject line. So here what you would do is in variation B, you would change your subject line. So you could say test personalization versus non-personalization, or you could test a long subject line versus a short subject line. So once you change your subject line, do not change anything else. So you should just be testing against one variable. So don't say, okay, now I'm going to test subject line, and then I'm going to also check the email copy or the subject or the email design or whatever. No, you should just test subject line and then leave it at that, and then send the campaign. Now that's subject line. So next thing that we can test against is our click rate. So this is once the customer opens the email. So what happens after the customer's already opened the email? We want to see how the email performs based on the actual contents of the email. So good examples of testing for click rate is going to be testing your call to action button. You could test the color of the button. You could test the placement of the button. You could also test your actual banner image. You could have variations between the copy that you use within your banner image. So there's a lot of different things that you can test here. But the basic difference is if you click the first one, it's just open rate. So it's just going to be before the customer opens. So it's really just subject line or preview text. And if you click rate, it's going to be everything within the email. So once the customer's already opened it. So it's not going to include those other things that we listed before. Now here you can actually test based on the size of the email. So what you can do is, it's a pretty neat feature where for the first, say 35% of the sends, it's going to do that A/B test. So it's going to send to 35% of your audience first, running that A/B test. Now, after the A/B test, after 6 hours, it's going to say, all right, well, variation A actually had a better click rate. So we're going to send the entire email. So for 65% of the audience, we're going to send the variation that won. Now, it's actually a pretty cool feature. Usually I actually just test A versus B. It just gives me more information, more data, and then I'll use that data for the next campaign. It's really up to you how you want to do it. It's really just personal preference, but that's a pretty neat feature if you want to use it. So you want to test your click rate, and you want to A/B test your your CTA button. Now this is how we would do it. So in variation A, this is created the way that this is. Now variation B, we can actually move it around. So we can either change the copy or we could change the color. So then I would keep this the exact same, and then I would change the color based on, you know, a brand color or whatever that might be. Okay, that looks pretty ugly, but you guys get the point. So another thing you can test is the actual placement. So instead of having the CTA below, you can have it above. Another thing you can test for is the actual banner image itself. So you could use different copy here. So you could say something like that, for example. Now this obviously looks super ugly because I haven't really taken the banner image into account. But those are just examples. Now again, if you're testing your banner image, don't test your call to action button. If you're testing your call to action button, don't test anything else. Always just test one variable at a time. It's going to give you way better information. Now, pretty much what you're going to do is you're going to save and exit. So after this, you're just going to click continue to review, and then you're going to launch the campaign as per usual. Now, there's another test that I also love to run. So all the tests up until now have been to do with the actual email itself. So either the subject line or the call to action or the banner image, basically either before they open or after they open. Now, another really cool test that we like to run is actually testing the send times. So what we like to do is clicking this button up the top that says switch to testing send times. Now here what you can do is you should be running a variation of the exact same email, so exact same subject line and the exact same content. Here you can actually just change the time that you send the campaign. So you could either change the date or you could change the actual time as well. Now I usually like to test different times throughout the day. Now I like to use this test to actually test what day of the week my audience is the most active. So I usually set it as the exact same time throughout the day, but what I like to do is I test different days. So this gives me a really good indication as to what day of the week my audience clicks the emails the most. So for this one, I actually don't mind running more than 2 tests. So here you can see even run 5 days straight, as long as the contents of the email isn't time sensitive. It's like a flash sale that expires in 48 hours. If it's a regular campaign that you want to send out, now I always recommend you can actually test for multiple days for the week. So you can do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and that's 5 tests. And then by the end of the week, you'll know which day of the week you get the best engagement. Again, always use the same time, and then you can test for different days. Now, that brings us to the end of this video, and I'm going to run through that bonus test that I always love running for my clients, and that is called a smart send time test. So for testing the actual time of the day that my audience is the most active, this is not the way that I do it. I don't actually change the time here to test it. I use a really cool Klaviyo native feature called Smart Send Time, and I'm going to go through that right now. Now, to set up a Smart Send Time test, what I would have to do is I'd have to create a campaign, and I would run no A/B tests over here. So it should just be a campaign set up as a single campaign with nothing set up here. So what I would do is I would continue to review, so I would go all the way till the end, and basically what I'm going to do is right before I schedule it, so I click schedule down below, so the campaign's been set up correctly. Now when I set a time, instead of selecting one of these times, now I would click Smart Send Time. Now what it's going to do is it's going to segment my audience based on certain hours of the day. Now it's going to progressively send an email every hour of the day to my audience. Now what I'm going to find is after the campaign's been sent, I'm going to get a report which gives me the exact time of the day that the audience is the most active. So this takes the entire guesswork out. Now what I would usually do is I would set this test up for the next 3 to 5 campaigns that I send out for my clients. So whenever I have a new client that I onboard, I always run this test, so I know exactly what time to send my emails to my clients' lists. So a lot of my clients have completely different send times. So some of my clients have a send time that is 9 p.m. and some clients have a send time of 5 p.m. So different audiences, again, is going to react differently to your emails. So always set up this test to figure out exactly what time of the day you should send your campaigns. So once you schedule this, once you set this up, you click schedule and it's going to send the campaign. So obviously I'm not going to schedule this, but that pretty much covers everything. So thank you so much for making it this far. Now you know exactly how to run A/B tests, all the different types of tests that you can run. So my recommendation is always start with the Smart Send Time test and then always run regular A/B tests every single week for your campaigns. So thank you so much for making it this far. I hope this video has been valuable too. Please like this video, share this video with a friend, and subscribe to the channel if this video has been helpful to you. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. See you later.